All right. What's your name? Weed?
Yeah, my name is Weed,
All right.
and I'm 83,
All right.
and I
Let's go right up here.
Okay. I find stuff.
You find stuff. What kind of stuff, man?
Well, you've got it too.
All right.
You'll be reading a book or looking at a TED Talk, and you know there's something more in there. Well, I've trained myself. I go back, and I go back. And maybe the fourth time I find it, and then I go into the street and test it. I've got almost a dozen of these things in my bag of tricks. Some of them are so powerful. Well, one of them is so powerful, it caused the guy to pull his head out of his ass, bring his kidnapped daughter back to his ex-wife, and make their lives go better.
Whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah?
Had pulled his head out of his ass, brought his daughter back to his kidnapped wife?
His kidnapped daughter back to his wife.
His kid, okay.
Then,
But not physically. He didn't physically pull his head out of his ass.
No,
You're just, okay.
No.
Brought his daughter back to his kidnapped daughter back. Had he kidnapped his own daughter?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was hundreds of miles away.
Damn. All right.
And then make their lives go right afterwards for his ex-wife, his daughter, and himself.
Okay.
It's a hidden discovery in the power of vulnerability. It's a TED Talk. Should I look at you? And
Wherever you can look at me, it's fine.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a hidden discovery in the power of vulnerability. The woman who gives the TED Talk reveals in a later TED Talk that she didn't know that she revealed this discovery. Never before seen or known by man. And after that happened, where he brought his daughter back, I was so exhilarated, I gave it out that there's a hidden discovery in the power of vulnerability to over 1,500 people.
I'm sorry, there's a hidden discovery inside that video?
Yeah.
Inside her TED Talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a glimmer, there's a facet, there's a thread
Okay.
of a discovery that's in there.
One which cannot be found elsewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As far as I know, there's no place else you could find this. It's a truth that has not been discovered.
Is this truth something you could plainly, concisely, and simply tell me right now, or do I have to watch the TED Talk?
I can't tell you these things.
Okay.
The way we learn things is we find out that something exists.
Okay.
Then we find out what it is. Then we find its why and wherefore. That's how we learn something. And if you go deep enough with the why and wherefore, it's really in your tool belt, because you know it backwards and forwards, up and down, and so forth. And you can talk about it with authenticity.
Okay.
But somebody else who just knows that that exists, let's say giraffe. A giraffe exists.
Okay.
And that was the first time you heard about the giraffe. And then you went and looked up in a book and you found a giraffe. It's got a long neck and it's got longer front legs than back legs. And that's weird. And then you went to the zoo and you groomed and fed a giraffe, and you knew its why and wherefore somewhat. And if you wanted to go further, and you'd go to the wild and live with it as it gestated its young and so forth and so on, and then you would know even more, and you would be a giraffe expert. You know?
Okay.
So that's the way we learn things. We don't. The people that go around saying I know, they don't know. They just know that about something, like. But the people that really know stuff are the ones that are rare.
How about mystics?
Well,
How about a mystic like Gurdjieff? You know him? Fourth Way
no,
or Osho? Or
I don't know them guys.
what do you think of mystics in general?
Bullshit.
Mysticism is bullshit. Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
And what about various, let's say, Scientologies, religions, etc.?
Scientology is good if you can get to the unadulterated, original information.
Can you get that just by reading Dianetics, or
No, because it's all been adulterated now.
in order to scam you out of your money?
Yeah, it has been changed from something that serves people to something that serves the organization to get more real estate.
Right. And we're talking about original L. Ron Hubbard system of, let's call it, thought, you think is valuable, but has been kind of bastardized?
Oh, it's been bastardized big.
Okay.
Yeah. But
originally you think it was something worthy of study and more exploration?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at a 1960. I was at the State of Man Congress in Washington D.C. Shoreham Hotel,
Okay.
and L. Ron Hubbard spoke.
Okay.
And I'd just gotten into Scientology in Miami. And I went up there with a group of people. We all shared a car and went up there. And it was $60 for 3 days.
Okay. And what year? 60s, you
1960.
Said? Okay.
It was at the new year of 1960, the end of 1959, the new year of 60.
All right.
The State of Man Congress. And I wanted to know if Ron Hubbard really was the magician that I'd been heard about, you know. So I sat about 3 rows back and I sat off to his left.
Okay.
And he had an e-meter, which is nothing but a weak...
Engrams, right?
Well, no, this is a
No?
meter that shows when, let's say a word comes up. Say your grandmother, you had a great deal of trauma with your grandmother dying. And grandma comes up in the conversation, there would be a read on the meter when you looked at that trauma.
Okay. Like when they give you the stress test, the Scientology.
Yeah,
people.
okay, yeah. So he had a meter, and people, it was new, you know. And he was shaking it and saying, this will cut your 5 hours down to 1.
What 5 hours, though?
5 hours of auditing your
Oh, the audits, right.
Yeah, the auditing.
Auditing, what is it called? Your pre?
Well, you get them to relive their traumas and so forth. And when they relive them, one guy was reliving birth. And there was a red line above as it went down, the red and then the white.
Okay.
And as it took place, as he ran birth, it went on down, and then, you know, he had run birth, and he had gotten the trauma of birth examined, and he had reduced a lot of the charge.
Okay.
The baggage that you carry around from having been birthed.
Right.
And anyway.
He's processed his trauma, so to speak.
Yeah, he processed the trauma. And that's where they got the emotional tone scale. People would, the first time you run it, you'd be in, you know, real bad off. And then you'd come up to grief, and then you'd come up to propitiation, and then, if it's a girl and a male's auditing her or vice versa, she offers herself to the auditor, you know, at propitiation.
Like sexually, or?
Yeah, sexual.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's that, well, anybody that's at propitiation is the girl that's going to offer you something.
Wow.
Because that's, you know, she's compulsively doing it. But, you know, like, you get to where you see the differences.
The 60s, free love, right?
Well, yeah, that was just, you know.
Where'd you live in the 60s?
I was in Miami.
Okay.
In the 60s.
How'd you end up? Were you from Miami, or?
No, New York City.
You're from New York City?
Yeah.
Where?
Manhattan.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I just moved there from New York.
Wow.
I live in Brooklyn for the last 10 years.
Yeah. I lived over in Knoll Street in Brooklyn at one point.
Right on.
Well, we moved around, you know, a little bit in the boroughs.
So we're talking about a little bit about origins of Scientology. We're talking about the origins of Scientology. We're talking about New York City a little bit. What about what matters today? What matters today, Weed?
Well, we're in a very precarious position right now, mankind. These bodies will not be around if we don't stave off the apocalypse that's coming. Right now, chickens are being raised in vertical cages because they can't stand up. They've been genetically modified so that their breasts are 3 times bigger. And they can't stand up. They fall over, so they have to be raised in vertical cages. There's short cows that give 12 gallons of milk a day.
Jeez.
The cows are being genetically modified to produce food and milk and whatever other products they give us.
So all the GMO stuff is generally pretty bad and quite true for the most part?
Yeah, it's, you know, like, they even cut off the beaks of some of the fowl because a beakless fowl is a better
less dangerous to the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta ask, how do we verify this? Like for you,
Well,
how do you verify this information?
Food INC is a good movie to watch, but that's years ago.
Okay.
It's even gotten worse today.
But even then, I haven't seen that, but I think I'm familiar with those kinds of documentaries. Would the FDA or would the people?
They're a myth.
They don't want to tell the truth.
No.
They want to protect their own interests, of course.
Yeah,
they
sure,
don't care
they're
much
between
about.
a rock and a hard place. They've got to keep the food industry going, and the food industry is between a rock and a hard place. They've got to keep all of this destruction and degradation of the animals going, so they can stay in business.
So it sounds to me immediately. I feel
we eat it.
Okay, when you're talking about like the cows, being genetically modified and chickens raised in cages, I feel sadness from that immediately.
Well, sure.
That sounds such like a sad, tragic thing, but what's the actual outcome of the continuation and perpetuation of that? It keeps happening. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for your body?
Right now, there are 700 million tons of domesticated pet and food animals on the planet.
Okay.
There are 400 million tons of meat bodies walking around calling themselves humans.
Meat body. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
700, 400, and 100 million tons of feral animals left and dwindling fast. That's the situation. An apocalypse has to come. We cannot sustain what we're doing.
Like a nuclear apocalypse?
No. Just the
starvation.
The food chain is going to be collapsed. This last spring, we paid people to pollinate crops in a northwestern state. I don't remember which state.
Right.
China's been doing it for a decade, over a decade. They've been paying people to pollinate crops.
Whereas crops would be pollinated where normally?
Insects.
Insects. Okay. Now they're doing it chemically.
No, they do it with sticks and things, where they can get the pollen off of the flowers to mix with whatever they need in the crops, the corn and so forth. I'm not familiar with all of the details, but rice they use, over in China, they use a long stick and pollinate the stalks coming up out of the water.
But is this a bad thing, or is this just an indication of the environmental problems you're talking about?
Well, if we don't fix it, if we don't get rains on the planet, the food chain is going to go.
Who can do that, and how can they do that?
You and I have to demand it be done.
By writing a letter to Congress?
No. These guys are between a rock and a hard place too. They just want the votes.
So what would we do then to try and combat this?
Well,
I'm going to call it an evil, okay?
all right, let's say, all right, we can wait, and it will definitely come the apocalypse. You and I...
But you're saying the apocalypse, just to be clear, starvation, collapse of the food chain. Okay.
Collapse of the food chain, crops, famines. Already, Haiti is one place that has ruined their island so much that they can't plant anything. It will not grow anything. They have completely destroyed the whatever you would call it, of the productivity of the ground, the dirt, the earth.
Right.
They can't even hardly grow trees or bushes.
So what can the everyman, you and me, do?
You, being a decidedly Aquiline.
Now, this is something I can look up and discover, or no?
No, you'll not discover it by any known.
I can't Google Aquiline, skull, and Aquiline?
You'll find definitions.
But you also won't tell me.
I will not tell you. Because,
is there any way for me to discover what this term means?
Yeah, I discovered it. And you're decidedly Aquiline. You
So
should.
how might I discover this term?
I had to
and
go
its meaning?
At the end, when I was at a corral. I had gone mirages, dead ends, and I was at a corral, and I didn't have any place to go. I thought, well, this is the end of it. I can't find it. There's no thread or glimmer anywhere, facet that I can trace down. And then after maybe a week, I thought, maybe the ancient Greeks and Romans knew. And I went to Greek statues, and I found a skull characteristic. That skull's got a skull characteristics. Oh, that one's got it too. Oh, that one's got it. Oh, that one don't have it. Fuck, another dead end. So after a while, though, after a few days, I was thinking, well, I really don't know what that skull represented. So I went back, and underneath that skull it said he was a slave. So some statesman had a good servant, had a statue made of him. He was a slave. So the theory held water. I made a 0 to 10 up here of that skull characteristic, which you're wearing.
Did you say you met a 0 to 10 or your ad?
I made.
You made, okay.
I created a 0.
It's like a scale almost.
Yeah, 0.
Okay.
0 to 10. So then at first.
Oh, wait, where are you at on the scale?
I am a borderline Aquiline at 3.
What about me? Or is that unknown?
You're beyond.
Beyond?
Yeah, you're quite a bit more mental gymnastics than I am.
Beyond 3?
Yeah, you're well beyond 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not totally clear on what that indicates, but if you can't tell me.
It's the mental gymnastics that you have. If you and I were put on the same task,
okay, and
I had some skill and knowledge that would allow me to take a lead, I would be waiting for your footsteps to come and say, okay, I'll take the reins now. And we would both know it was the proper thing to do for you to take the reins. And then I would back you. If I was going to stay there, I would back you with everything I could.
Because what kind of task? Does it matter what kind, or? Any
kind of task that is not abhorrent to you.
Okay.
You know, anything that you are multi-talented in the task categories.
I do what I can. I try. You know.
Yeah. And
wait. So I do in order for me to discover what, and it's Aquiline.
Aqui.
Aquiline.
Yeah.
So for me to discover the meaning of that word, do I have to go to Rome and look at skulls, or?
No, I use the internet to look at pictures of Roman, Greek statues.
Let me ask this too: is it important for me to go discover what that means, or can I just forget about it?
If it does, if you do it, and you do find it, it will be like, wow.
Really?
Really. And history will open up. You'll see false heroes. You'll see real heroes, and then you'll see false heroes. When I first started, there were 2 female singers that were driving me nuts. They had the 4 performance characteristics.
Okay.
In the moment and so forth, and analytical capability, and you can bring episodes from their own life into the conversation, and afford a stranger civility initially. Of course, after I abuse your civility, you'll avoid me, but up until that time, you afford me civility.
Okay.
And I was having a hell of a time with these 2 females. And how in the hell can they have these 4 performance characteristics and still fall back down in their private life? And then I found where both of them had decidedly Aquiline male mates. You guys lift up us.
But wait, so how do I discover what that means for me?
Aquiline skulls. Well, you will or will not.
So I look up Aquiline skulls on the internet?
You look it up, and you will find no definition that will tell you what it is. That is correct.
So I may go through the rest of my
bullshit.
life, however long that is, not knowing what that means.
That's right.
And it's not something that you can tell me right now?
I will not tell you.
But it is something, if you wished to, you could tell me.
If I wanted to, yes. Here's what I would do.
But wait, why won't you tell me?
Because here's what you will do.
Okay.
You will say, really? I'll put that in my get to it later pile, your catalog of open questions.
As opposed to what should I be doing if you told, which you're not going to, I acknowledge that, but if you did tell me, here's what it means, what task or responsibility would I be charged with at that point?
No responsibility, no task other than what you wanted to do with it yourself. At that
except for saying, I'm putting this in my list of things to do later. That would be the wrong thing.
That would be what you would do.
And that's the wrong thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but if you made it a task, if you tasked yourself with finding it, and you found it, the arc of your life right now would have the opportunity to make a different arc.
Okay, but it's not, if I was to make the effort to find out what it is, you're telling me it's not done by doing an online search?
No.
Or going someplace in a library and reading?
Well, no. The way I had to do it.
Where would a clue come from then? Where would I even begin such a search?
Well, go to the dictionary. You go to the dictionary and look at all the different definitions.
And this is not relative to any spiritual system or
No, it's just
philosophy.
it's
It's
just
not
bone
from
and-
Est. It's not from Scientology.
No, it's bone and cartilage and so forth. I have.
Is there anybody other than you who knows of this term and references it?
I have not found anyone yet. I've had several of you tell me, I will find it. None of you have come back and said you found it.
Well, why would they be determined to find it, though? Why would they
Well,
just
because they like the way
take
I
you on
said
your
that.
word?
Well, just what I told them, and they could. You can feel it. You know, you're in the moment. You're here. You're present. You have analytical capability with concepts and ideas.
Okay.
Non-Aquilines can't hold one concept or one idea very well. That's why you have trouble staying in conversations with the average person more than 4 minutes. They can't stay in a conversation.
Right.
They can't hold on to one concept or one idea. You can handle them and weigh them one against another and come to conclusions. Not only two, but more. You can bring episodes from your life into the conversation, have a rich dialogue if you choose. And you figured out how society works and you afford a stranger's civility initially. When I abuse your civility, you will avoid me. But until that time, you will afford me civility.
Are you the type to abuse someone's servility?
Civility.
Civility. All right, civil. Okay.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
In fact, I tell people, a lot of people that are non-Aquilines, and they want to parasite on me, I tell them, you're too stupid for me to talk to.
How often do you meet somebody that you can gauge as Aquiline?
Some days I don't see one of you. But I don't remember ever going a week without seeing one. I have gone several days without seeing one. And only 3 out of 100 of you are women. Period.
That's mostly men. Why'd you come here today?
To listen to the music. I already exchanged some information with one of the musicians.
Oh, are you a musician yourself?
I write lyrics.
Okay. What does your life look like at this point?
I'm retired. I talk to decided Aquilines. I get up in the morning and say, what the fuck am I going to do today? And I go out and I talk to people. I use the fast food joints, lights, and table and chair, and I read paper books and get on the internet. With
Fiction, nonfiction?
Nonfiction. Usually I'm researching some new trick I'm going to put in my bag.
Okay. How'd you end up in California from New York, Miami?
I dropped out in 1971, took off my coat and my tie.
Dropped out from college or from the stiff world?
Engineering.
Okay. Engineering, okay.
Pushed a pretzel cart on the streets of Manhattan. Toughest thing about that, here'd come another engineer and say, is that you, John? And I'd have to say, yeah. But I don't regret it a bit, because I had a real life after that.
Why was the pretzel cart more of a real life than the engineering job?
Well, the pretzel cart was just to make do. If I sold all my pretzels, I could pay my rent and eat.
Okay.
So then I did landscaping, I did scrap metal, I did lumping furniture, I did fences, roofs.
You think it's important to make a lot of money?
No.
No?
No.
Just enough to pay rent, get by, and not be in debt?
Yeah, that's
important.
That's me.
Right?
That's me. Yeah. I don't want to have my hand out.
Sure.
I don't want to beg for, food or anything.
Who would,
Yeah, it's demeaning. And if I made $1 million now, I would tell the government to stop sending my Social Security.
So wait, what'd you do after the pretzel cart gig?
I ended up with doing a lot of things all over the country.
So those were just the jobs you just listed, right?
Yeah, and plus more jobs. And then I went to driving a semi-truck.
Okay.
And I ended up driving a semi-truck. Freelance driver, worked when I wanted to, got a pocket full of money, went to the racetrack, blew my money. Went
Horses
back,
or cars?
Horses.
Okay. Like Charles Bukowski.
Okay. Went back to
Right.
the truck stop, got on another truck or whatever. Did all of these things and had a life, which I would not have had I remained an engineer. I would have been shallow, stupid. I'm not that smart now, but I would have been a lot less smart had I stayed a sedentary engineer.
Do you fear death?
No.
No?
I've looked up my past death in the New York Times. I was trying to discredit it. I was trying to get rid of it.
Discredit the idea that we have past lives, or discredit
My memory.
Your memory. Okay.
My memory. I remember being shot. The bullets did not go through. They were in my stomach. Blood was pooling around the hot bullets. I could feel the blood pooling around the hot bullets as I died. And I was going along and I was saying, I'm got to get rid of this. I've got to get back to God. I've got to, I've got to
Like
stop
Christian,
this.
Judeo-Christian God, or?
A Christian God.
Okay.
I've got to get back to God and Jesus and so forth. And then I said, well, hell. I was living in Miami at the time. And I said, maybe the library's got the New York Times of 1923. And I went down there and she said, yes, we have it on microfilm. And I got the microfilm with the date in it. And I got the microfilm before. And what I wanted to do was go real slow and see what was going on in the New York Times. And not just come to the first body and say, oh, that's me, So I went real slow. I was looking for a violent death. And it's like a small town. New York and Manhattan in 1923,
Sure.
small town.
Crazy to think of it that way.
Yeah, you can buy a pot-belly stove, 4 burners on top, or 4 lids on top, for $5.95.
Wow.
I finally found a violent death. There was a team of
Wait, how
horses.
old did you say? You're 82?
This body is 83.
83, 80. I'm trying to think of if you could have a Model T or not. I don't think so.
A Model T would have been before my...
A little bit before your time. Okay.
Well, like
10 years.
35 was, so a Model T is like break of the century, right?
Well, my grandpa was 90, he would be about 94, I think, right now, and he had a Model T.
But was it a used Model T or...
I think it was brand new. His mom gave him $15 and he went and bought a car.
God almighty, okay.
Crazy, right?
That is, yeah. But anyway...
They didn't have radios in them yet, I don't think.
No, you used to have to... I've done that. I've cranked Model A or Model T.
I saw you walking up that giant hill of the mountain here, I think.
Yeah, well...
You walked all the way from the bottom, right? See, I'm parked.
yeah.
I'm parked like right there. But I think I saw you walking
How
up.
far did you walk? You were all sweaty.
Well, I just went for a hike is what I did.
Oh.
But you actually, to transport yourself here, you walked here.
Yeah, I walked from Sierra Madre Boulevard.
That mountain is crazy, right?
Yeah, well,
You walk up with a little water at least. Okay, stay
No,
hydrated.
I didn't have any water with me. I just bought this.
Really?
Yeah.
You walked up that where all the cars are driving up, this circular hilly thing with no
With
water.
nothing, yeah.
Wow. No fear of dehydration?
Nah. I could go that and again,
Wow.
I could.
That's some
I'm
stamina.
not that fit, but I'm fit enough.
If you can go up that, you're fit, I think.
Yeah, pretty fit, yeah. If you've done furniture, you can kind of tell how much you could go out and do in a day.
Like furniture deliveries, or?
Like loading a furniture truck
Okay.
out of the house and then taking it to another place and then delivering it.
Gotcha.
I could go out and do 6,000 pounds roughly right now. And then I would work my way up to where I could do 26,000 pounds.
Wow.
See, in one day.
It's a lot of pounds, man.
Yeah, well, that's with a team, That's
But Weed, what matters right now for the rest of today?
just getting this done, and I'll go down to the valley again and have a drink or two, and then go back and sleep, camp out where I camp out. I've been camping out since 1978.
You camp out?
I do.
You're not living in an actual house or an
I
apartment?
won't live in a house no more.
Really?
Yeah, the walls come in on you.
And does that mean you accrue stuff and the stuff starts building up? And you feel like
you
the walls
do that
are-
too. Yeah, it's pack rat shit. Yeah.
So you camp?
Yeah, I
In a
camp.
camper?
No, I don't do that.
In a tent?
I don't do that.
A log cabin?
No, I don't do that.
Open, just open?
I have a sleeping bag.
Okay.
I put the sleeping bag on the ground.
You're blowing my mind right now, by the way.
Well, it's simple when you know how to do it. You got to get used to it,
Okay. You put something soft under the sleeping bag?
Sometimes.
Do you have a overhead, like a tarp or
If
something?
it rains, I put up a tarp.
And is it
soon as
your
it
own piece of
stops.
property?
No?
It doesn't have, so you can just do this.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever hassle you?
I have been run out of places. I have.
Okay.
But what I do now is I look for places that I won't be run out of, And I do a number of steps getting friendly with the people that I have to go through their area.
Okay.
And then once they know me, that I'm not a thief going through
Right.
their area, then they say, like I pick up trash along the way, And they like that.
Community service almost. You're
Yeah.
doing something good for the neighborhood.
Yeah, and then like people pilfer the mailboxes, I find the mail where they've been pilfered and I put it back in the proper mailboxes and things like that, you know.
Now, what about when you need to get your Social Security check? Do you have it sent to a P.O. box? Or?
No, it goes right into my bank account.
Okay. I'm just trying to think you can have a bank account without having a physical address.
Well, I use my son's permanent address.
Okay.
So
Does he have a problem with your lifestyle?
No,
No?
he wants me to come there and live.
Is he pretty free-minded individual?
He is. He remembers his past life.
Interesting.
But without me ever urging him to do that, he just naturally remembered it.
Now, what about you to bring water to where you sleep and where you live? Do you have to bring like a jug of water? Is there a water source?
I don't do that. I just get up in the morning, go get some coffee, and start my day.
Huh. You can walk to a cafe from where you are. Well, look, I guess you can walk anywhere if you walked all the way up here.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty crazy, really.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
So Hubbard had the e-meter, shaped it, saying, this will cut you 5 hours down to 1. And I was off to his
Which way? I still don't know what that means. 5 hours down to 1.
Okay, 5 auditing hours down to 1 auditing hour.
Okay.
That
See,
would make-
auditing is a thing. It's like pretty exclusive to Scientology, so I'm not very familiar with it.
It's psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis is what it is.
How about EST, by the way? EST. Familiar?
Yeah.
What do you think of that
that's,
system?
That's what is that? Extrasensory what?
I don't know if that's what it stands for. It became landmark education, but originally it was EST was kind of, I think, associated with Moonies, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, those, the Reverend Mooney.
I think so. I think there's a connection somehow.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
EST.
I mean, no longer around is what it is. They they morphed into landmark education.
Okay.
Which is largely thought to be a culty scam thing that takes your money.
Sure. Most of the stuff out there is bullshit.
But you never got in, or have you heard of Fourth Way, Gurdjieff, the Russian mystic?
I've heard of Fourth Way somewhere.
Yeah, that Fourth Way was pretty big. I think more so in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
It's still around.
Okay. What I found is cosmological physics.
Physics?
Cosmological physics.
Okay.
Cosmological physics.
Okay.
Not nuclear physics. Cosmological physics. The cosmos. The Earth, and so forth.
Okay.
If you, what's your name?
Peter.
Peter, I'm glad, I knew you'd do that.
I like that joke. Can I steal it? I got one for you. Next time you meet somebody for the first time, you can say, "Oh, I haven't seen you in so long." We'll trade.
Okay. If you look at Polaris, find Polaris at night.
The constellation.
It's not a constellation. It's just it's a double star is what it is.
Okay.
Its light started 400 years ago that you're going to be seeing. And it makes a 26,000 mile, 1 degree precession.
Okay.
It's like the top that's wobbling before it stops.
Okay.
And if you find Polaris, someplace where you frequent, on foot, and just whatever you have to use, a telephone pole, a tree, a top of a house or whatever, just to where you can be in one spot and spot it every night, that there's not clouds. You will soon be connected to Polaris, the relationship from Polaris to Earth. Polaris is the North Star.
Okay.
And then you will start noticing the clock at the nighttime of Cassiopeia, the W, and the front 2 stars of the Big Dipper as they go around. It's actually a clock.
Okay.
Those things you will see. And then you start noticing, if you want to, if you expand it, to where the sun comes up, and then you watch the sun go south in the winter and come back north in the summer. Yesterday was the equinox, September 21st.
Okay.
So that's the day that it's equal dark and light.
Now I have to ask something. You're talking about cosmological physics, and I, of course, immediately am thinking of the zodiac and whatnot.
Yeah.
And what's the name they call it? What's the word for that?
Firmament and the constellation.
Astrology is what I'm thinking of.
Well, okay.
But here, let me
Now,
ask you this.
astrology is
Different.
the mystic.
Okay.
Astronomy.
Astronomy. Okay. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So currently, this is very relevant to me. I would basically classify myself as an atheist at this point.
Well,
I have no belief
I
in
am
God,
too. I am
no
too.
belief.
Yeah.
And I also don't believe we have spirits, though. To me,
Well,
that's not. I don't think
let
that's
me-
the case.
let me
But
do a
what do
drill.
you think of that?
Let me do a drill.
Do it.
Ask me if I have a soul.
All right. Weed, do you have a soul?
I do not have a soul. Ask me if I have a spirit.
Weed, do you have a spirit?
I do not have a spirit. What is animating these facial muscles, and I'm working the lungs and the vocal cords at my command, is me. I am a spirit. I have a body.
Okay, so it's not just the brain, bone, blood, cerebral cortex producing your consciousness. There's something else in there that's not just,
Yeah.
and that is the spirit operating this body.
I.
And when
if
this
you have-
body passes, you will survive it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I could die. And
Where am I at that, though? Am I wrong about it, do you think? Am I misguided? Am I somewhere else on the path? Is it possible that you're wrong in this? Or is it like a certainty to you at
It's a
this point?
certainty to me, but unless it's a certainty to you, it's bullshit.
Okay.
Anything I say is bullshit until it's yours.
Doesn't matter if I think that. Not that anything you say is bullshit. Doesn't matter if I think that I don't have a spirit and that I'm not a spirit.
Yeah.
Does
Well,
it make a difference for
Yeah,
my life?
Well, yeah, it will make a big difference
When and how?
when you do the drills that I do. I made a drill.
Can I learn one of these drills right now?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the drill right now.
I'm ready. All right.
Okay.
Instructions for the drill. Coming. Here we go.
2012,
The year. Okay.
I developed a drill where you make your consciousness by making your height, width, and depth.
Like measuring my height, width, and depth.
Not measuring. Just whenever you include my meat body in your height, width, and depth, you are making your height, width, and depth. You are making it. And when you make that space, when you cast that space, and it's not continuous,
Is the casting of the space something that happens consciously, or is it automatic?
it's automatic. You've got it on.
It's not deliberate. It's just happening, no matter
You're
what.
doing it subconsciously right now.
I am.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And are
I
we
am-
talking about an aura? Is that what we're
No,
talking about?
no.
Whoa, all
no,
right, no.
no chakras, no auras, no bullshit.
Just my consciousness.
Yeah, chakras are real, but
Okay.
I don't see chakras. I have talked to people that do. And anyway, in 2012, I used this piece of information. You've heard of Planck in physics?
Planck's
Max Planck?
What's it? Planck's constant,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
That's
yeah,
all. I don't know what it is. I
yeah,
only
yeah,
know
yeah.
that expression.
Well, anyway, an electron increases electron volts.
Let's go back a little bit. My foot is like burning from the sun
Okay.
here. Crazy. Get just into the shade here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm still going.
No, sorry.
This is good here.
Yeah, okay. Where do you want me?
You're fine. You're good, man.
The electron volts do not go, let's say, from 1 to 10 analog. They do not rise like that.
Okay.
They go jump, they leap. And that's that constant. That's that. I'm not familiar with all of the figures and the symbolic
Sure, I'm not
logic
either.
and so forth.
You could have made it up, and I would believe you. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to say I know when I don't.
So wait, this test or the drill? What's the drill?
Okay, the drill is we are making the consciousness so many times a second.
Okay.
When you are having dreamless sleep, you are not making the consciousness.
What's happening then?
The consciousness is not being made.
Okay.
You're not dreaming.
You just are.
No, you're not. You're not. You do not. The consciousness does not exist.
So the dreams are not an experience of
Well,
our.
it's dreamless sleep that I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay.
No dream, no consciousness.
Okay.
If a guy gets hit in a football game Sometimes he'll be knocked into subconsciousness.
Sure.
And he can't remember having worked on the field and maybe even made a touchdown or something.
Okay. I'm running a little low on battery. It's not a big deal. I just want to get to the drill, though.
Okay. So Hubbard had said that we don't make our consciousness continually. We're making it and not making it, making it and not making it. But it's being done by the subconscious automaticity. So what I did is I made a drill where I walked and I threw my space in the moment and then stopped, threw it again in a new moment, stopped, threw it again in a new moment as I walked. And pretty soon, I had something bouncing around in my space. And I said, what is that bouncing around in my space? And what it was the top of my head. As I walked, my head was bouncing.
So is that the drill then? To throw your space? Is that correct?
Take control of the subconscious making of space is what the drill is. I did it walking because I wanted the randomity of, the things happening instead of sitting in a chair and doing it. It worked for me. I've had one other guy do it, and it worked for him.
And this is the drill, is throwing your space, throwing your consciousness.
Yeah, not throwing your consciousness. When you throw your space, if you throw your space, what